but you could have a fairly loose knife and still have it really tight, because again, this is where the tension comes from, not here. That's great, man. I mean, you get smooth action with also some solid lockup. Hey my friends, this is LA Boy Scout with my review of the Maxpedition Excelsa folding knife. This is the small version, coming in at about 2.7 ounces. There's a large version that comes in about 5.1 ounces. As you probably know from watching previous videos, I'm more of a small knife guy than a large knife guy, which is why I was more interested in trying out the small one when Maxpedition offered for me to try out one of their knives. So I was more than happy to take them up on that offer because, hey, there are a lot of cool features on this knife and I wanted to get one in hand. So yes, it is a D2 tool steel blade, cryo heat treated to about 58 to 60. So that's pretty awesome. With a titanium handle slab and frame lock going on. Now there's some really cool features here. I'm going to show you the over travel stop that they put into this. You can see it peeking out right there, and I'll see if I can show it to you in camera. Oh, you can just barely see it there. You just barely see it. So that is, it appears to be screwed in, but it's actually sort of like, what would you call that? Not really riveted, but it's in there permanently. Anyway, so that's a little plate there that stops the bar from traveling too far over. Stops that lock bar from traveling too far. Meaning that your life, or the life of your knife, is going to be extended because you're not going to bend that thing out too far accidentally. So that's pretty dang awesome. Some other construction points. The pocket clip is well done, very well done. It's nice, a deep carry pocket clip that is repositionable from this point to that point right there, but only on this side of the knife. I think it works just fine here or there. Personally, tip up is the way I prefer to carry this particular model of knife. And some other cool points about it. Let's talk about the construction. The full flow through pillar construction, which is also very cool. And a great lanyard hole, very generous sized lanyard hole that you can easily get some paracord through. But we've got a screw there and a screw right here, which also holds the stop bar. Having those 2 points as your construction points means that the pivot, which is your third point, doesn't have to have a whole lot of tension on it in order for you to have a tight lockup side to side. So you can have a fairly loosey-goosey knife, and this is not really loosey-goosey, but you could have a fairly loose knife and still have it really tight, because again, this is where the tension comes from, not here. That's great, man. I mean, you get smooth action with also some solid lockup because of that construction. So good job, Maxpedition. Whether you did it on purpose or stumbled onto it, I don't really care. Nice work. Not so nice work on the thumb stud, the sort of beveled thumb stud, which is fine. It would be fine if it weren't for the fact that the angle's all wrong. If I were to push out like this, I could do that all day and not very comfortably get the knife out. It's a straight up flick that gets it out for me. And that's what I've been hearing from most everybody else I know that's reviewed this knife. You know, they're all sort of upset about the angle of this thumb stud, which you can't really change, by the way. You can take the pin out and flip it and reverse it. However, you can't rotate it because there is actually, if you take that out, you'll see that it's sort of cut in a certain way. The hole is cut in a certain way to match up with this pin and hold it in that position. So you cannot rotate it around or anything like that. That was one of the first things I tried when I got the knife, trying to fix that position, that angle. Honestly, it's still a great knife regardless of that. I wish it was angled down a little more, but still flies out pretty nicely. And yeah, it doesn't really matter in the end, so that's fine. I will say that it did take some tweaking for me to get this knife to a point that I really, really enjoyed playing with it and opening it and using it. A couple of things I had to change on it. I did adjust the pivot quite a bit. I also did adjust, I took the whole thing apart and adjusted the lock bar a little bit, kind of bent it in a slight bit more, if I remember right, because I wasn't real happy with the engagement of it. I didn't feel like it engaged positively enough out of the box. So I did kind of play with that a little bit and got it to a stage where it engages very positively with every opening, and I don't have to feel like I need to push it in a little bit more. What else? Oh yeah, the blade edge. The edge is my edge on there, and it's not perfect. There's some things about it where this kind of drops off here at the top. You know, I was trying to be careful not to round my tip off. So anyway, I did reprofile this edge from the angle that it came with out of the box, which I just was not happy with. And it's got sort of a convex edge on it now that I did on my Work Sharp knife and tool sharpener, which again, I'm real happy with the edge that it has on it now, but out of the box, it was not as razor sharp as I would like it to be. It was certainly a usable edge, but not that hair shaving sharp that I like to have on my knives. So I spent some time with it, got it to where I wanted it to be, and now it is an amazing pocket knife and one I really enjoy carrying. It's quite cool that the blade itself has no marks on it at all, no branding on it. Maxpedition right here. You know, in many cases you would expect to see that, I don't know, right there or there, but instead it's right here on the lock bar. Anyway, it's kind of cool to have just kind of a very plain, sterile blade like that. Pretty neat. A nice thumb ramp on it with some not extremely aggressive jimping, just a couple little cutouts there, but it's good enough for the work that I've done with this knife. And I have done a little bit of work with this knife. I'll roll that in here in a second, but first let me give you a little sharpness demonstration. So this knife, again, D2 steel, cryo heat treated, takes a very good edge, takes it a while to get it dull. It will go dull just like any other knife, but it takes a while for it to get there. A little bit of paper cut test here. Try to get this captured. Let's see here. So, yeah, that's about as sharp as I would ever need my knife to be, or ask for it to be, and that's pretty awesome. And if that's not enough, we'll do this and just kind of check. Some of you guys are grossed out by this, sorry. But yeah, we're shaving some hair off with no problems. It won't just slice paper or shave hair though, it will also dig into some cardboard, slice through that for quite a long time, and I did quite a bit of cardboard cutting with this. Wanted to do, you know, a good amount of cardboard cutting with it. Not just a few, you know, cuts here and there, but really go at it for a little while and really see how the knife felt in hand. That's really kind of key, because any knife will take an edge. It's important to understand how fast it loses the edge, but also how does it feel in hand as you're doing some of those cuts. And I'm pleased to tell you that it was actually quite comfortable in hand. Moving on to some harder materials, about the hardest I go, which is a little bit of pine material. It was a little 1x2, and I just kind of carved away at that for a little while as well. And again, in hand, even a small knife like this, you know, I can bear down on that pine without too much discomfort. I mean, you wouldn't expect that out of a smallish knife like this, but it did pretty well. Extended use, yeah, of course it wouldn't be really nice in hand to carve away at wood for a long time. I would want an EDC Plus size knife for that. But the EDC size knives do pretty well in most cases, and the Maxpedition Excelsa is no exception. Alright, let's get some other knives in here to compare this thing for size. There's the Maxpedition Excelsa coming in from the Maxpedition website at around 120 bucks. And for those materials, that's a pretty good deal. There's the Spyderco Persistence coming in at $35 or so. Here's the Blue Ridge Knives Zancudo coming in around the same price as that, with AUS 8 steel, 8CR13 MOV steel. Good knives also, not quite as quality in materials as the Excelsa. Here's the Kershaw Leak, one of my favorite knives. I just love that thing. With a 14 C28N steel, just love that steel. Really good knife. And here is the Benchmade Presidio Mini, also a fantastic knife, 154 CM steel. A little bit more expensive than the Excelsa here, probably closer to the I don't know, 130 plus, 140-ish maybe. Getting up there for materials and quality on that one. but boy, oh boy, Maxpedition is creeping up on them for both quality of materials and quality of construction. And yeah, if you're willing to spend over $100 for a knife, and you've been ogling some, or oogling or googling some of the Benchmades, maybe you ought to start oogling and googling this Maxpedition Excelsa here, because man, the quality is there, man. You ought to give that one a good solid look. Last thing I'll mention is the box that the Excelsa came in, which is pretty cool. I like Maxpedition's new look here. That is a kind of a lime green, sort of a key lime green, and the camera's not picking it up. Sorry about that. But on the inside, that's where the knife fits. And I don't have it for some reason, but it also came with a little Torx driver, which is the coolest thing I can imagine to send you with your knife. Yeah, it came with a Torx driver for a T6 and a T8, which are the two sizes you need to disassemble your knife. And that is just fantastic. I mean, you can make all the changes, you can make all the adjustments, and just have your knife good to go for a lifetime, straight out of the box. I mean, you don't need any, any kits or anything to buy or to supplement your knife. That's pretty freaking awesome. That's my review of the Maxpedition Excelsa Small. Love this cool little EDC knife. Thanks to Maxpedition again for providing this sample that I could review for you guys. And thank you for watching. I'm the Late Boy Scout. We'll see you later.